the link below.
And here we are, Mr. Kaufman. Look at me starting the podcast off with lighting issues. Go shadow and lighting issues. It's
it would seem to me that every week that we do this, you have lighting issues, and you're just not picking it up, man.
Just depends because I have my windows behind me in the way my office is here, and it just depends on how bright and sunny it is, whether it's cloudy, whether it's not. It really is very sensitive. So I just have to say. And by the way, does it really matter to anybody if I'm in a little bit of shadow too? Because let's just say I'm not getting any, I'm not on anybody's top 10 most handsome list of worldwide people, right? So I don't know that we need to worry about that so much too, but it is a little annoying. I will say that too. But happy Friday fun day, Mr. Kaufman. How are you doing today?
I am well, man. Ready for the weekend, and a little bit beat up this morning. I have a complaint every time we get on here. So everyone, you're just going to have to grin and bear it. You're just going to have to live this with me. But yeah, that workout this morning was brutal. So I'm a little bit of pain right now, but we're going to get through it. And I'm coming off the backside of it, so I am feeling better. But it just takes a little wind out of my sails there for a little while. How about you, man?
It's all. There we go. We just went really dark there too. I'm gonna see. It's going all right. I will be a week from today, so no podcast next Friday because I'll be back in Cabo, and we are officially closing the actual documents and everything, brother. So let's just say that our creative financing strategies work internationally because bought the property with seller financing, and I'm taking possession of it legally in Mexico inside a trust. So, brother, I'm just here to say that it works. Now, it's been a little bit more of an adventure in Mexico, let's just say that. But it does work. It does work, brother.
Albeit, 5 years later.
Well, that's a construction timeline issue, but we're getting there. So.
Yeah, but when you get down there, just make sure you take care of my place. I mean,
yes. Yes, you are correct. Getting a few more pieces of furniture delivered while we're down there finally from when we ordered them last time and all that. So we'll see. And man, it is turned out nice, I think. So
it's beautiful, man. I love it. I don't know, there just aren't many places that it's a very for being such like a it's Mexico, and for being kind of a touristy place, it's a welcoming type of it's just a welcoming type of place, and I actually miss it. I think it's great down there. I love it.
It's all good. So with all that said about some upcoming adventures we're having, what is today's topic on the Creative Real Estate Investing Mastery podcast?
Well, today I thought we would talk a little bit about some of the, I don't know, everyone goes out into these Facebook groups and they or social media period, and they start talking about subject to deals, and there's all this worry about things they probably don't need to worry about. Then there's also these, on the flip side of that, there are things that people are kind of blasé about that seem to be the most important aspects of this. But you see it from all different, it's just all over the spectrum. And what I thought we'd talk about today is the top 4 worst pieces of advice that the gurus are going to give you as it relates to subject to and creative financing. And there's many more. There are many more.
Yes, we're just focusing on the priority, the top 4. So
the top 4. I thought that would be a good, kind of a good happy medium, because I know once we get into these things, I just know that the way my brain works, we're going to go off the rails a little bit. That's just how these podcasts go.
Yes,
So
yes. We often do too, but can we just, before we get into, I guess we'll just call it bad advice or not enough advice, guru advice on the four topics that we'll talk about here in a second, is can we just talk about the mindset going into a Sub2 deal that I think gets overlooked a lot? It, a subject, as you like to say, a subject to deal is like marrying the seller who's the borrower on that Sub2 loan.
it is
Like,
a marriage.
it could be a very long-term relationship if there's 25 years left on the note. It's a 30-year note. There's a 25 years left in the note, and you're assuming responsibility for that. And let me just say that again. You're not assuming the loan. You're assuming responsibility for the payments. That's your agreement with the seller,
Yep.
right? And the loan is staying in their name, and you are taking the obligation of that payment. And you have to take that very seriously. Like, this is why shit's going belly up all over the country. It's because assholes all around the place are taking advantage of very desperate, yeah, in most cases, very desperate sellers in there, and they don't know their head from a hole in the ground when it goes to Sub2. They're not using any kind of appropriate paperwork that protects us as the buyer and the seller in a
Yep.
subject to deal. And they probably even have no intention of even making a payment. Yes, there are crooks and charlatans in every business. Right?
Isn't it wild though? Isn't that crazy to think? Why would you go out and put all this work and and get this, I guess you could call it an education. Why would you go out and do all this work and not follow through with?
Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's
I
bizarre. It's bizarre.
I saw I saw, I don't know if you saw, I am going back to your Facebook thing too. So we follow other good Sub2 subject to creative financing people, to the quality people.
Mhm.
And I saw one of those guys uh, make a post in there about how two people from a different group, we won't name names, but let's just say he wears a ball cap all the time. He in different groups, about how they screwed each other over. Like, what? Why? You're inside the same community, supposed to be learning the same things, supposedly in the right way, right? And you're sitting here screwing each other over. Like, it doesn't. I can't even wrap my head around that. All I know is, well, when we do a subject to deal, or we get straight seller financing, or what is it? Like, we're making a commitment to make good. Never once. In fact, this deal we just did on the seller financing, he asked a couple of questions. He was like, well, can you make the payments and all that stuff too? Shit, yeah, brother. I've not missed a payment in 25 years on any commitment I've ever made.
Well,
Like, I can't get my head around having any other mindset. I don't know.
it is. I've said this many, many times, and I still to this day contend that the reason that this stuff happens is because there's such a low barrier to entry to get into this business.
That's true. That's true.
All you need is I mean, especially when we're talking about subject to. Now you might need a little bit of money to get your coaching or your training,
Yeah.
but getting to subject to, I mean, it's actually one of our topics here. One of our little segments that we're gonna talk about is the money aspect of it, and because it is true that you don't need a ton of money to get into subject to. You need some money. You just don't need a ton of it. And I think that these folks going out and paying all this money to these in these groups, in these coaching programs, which I highly recommend a good coaching program. I
Yeah.
really, really do. In fact, I'm kind of in trying to steer my brother's trying to get into some things right now. He's trying to get into storage, and I'm telling him, it's the best money I've ever spent was getting into a good quality coaching program, and then maybe a mastermind later on. But these guys go out, they spend all this money on this coaching, they learn all of this, this knowledge, and then to throw it all away by not making payments, or or screwing over somebody else in the community. It just does not. I just I'm on your team here. I just do not
Keep my
understand
head
it.
around it.
It does not
Cannot keep my head around
compute
it.
at all. I don't
Yep.
get it. And I think that's one of the big that's the big sales pitch is you well I'm not going to talk about it now because that's actually lie number two, and we're talk when we talk about the money side of it.
Yep.
But we'll get to that. So let me back off a little bit. Let's talk about number one first.
Yeah. Sorry. I digress. I just wanted to reset
Yeah.
a little bit too about going into a Sub2 deal
Yeah.
in the first place too. So lie number one, like I'll kick it off, is that we talked about this a lot. This is just leave the current seller's insurance policy in place.
Mm.
And also too, we see this a lot of times from these quote unquote gurus. Get a new insurance policy. So leave the seller's one in place,
Yeah.
and then get a new one
Yeah. That's a good
that
one.
protects you. So
Yeah.
the seller's totally protected, and then you're totally protected, right, Mr. Kaufman? Isn't that how the insurance industry works?
If only it worked out that way.
Yeah, if only. Yeah, that's some
Yeah.
bad guru advice
Yeah.
right there.
So there's two things wrong with that. Number one, it's fraud.
Yep.
Number one, that's fraudulent, just flat out. You're never going to get anything. There's never going to be anything. What's going to end up happening is if you have some sort of event, if you have a catastrophe, neither one of those policies are going to pay for that. And it's just terrible, terrible advice. And it's a really simple rule to follow. The rule is very, very easily, plain English, black and white. The insurance policy follows the owner, whoever the owner is. Very, very simple.
Yeah, named insured.
The named insured.
Primary insured, whatever they call it. Yeah.
Yes. So if you take a property subject to, don't you own that property? Are you the owner? Of course you are. So the insurance policy, you are the named insured on the insurance policy, or your trust or your LLC, however you've taken title. So this crazy idea, that to go out and buy two insurance policies, have two insurance policies in place. Number one is fraudulent. Number two, it's highly likely that neither one of those policies are going to cover whatever catastrophe you have. So nuts.
And one of the main reasons that said is because messing the insurance up or changing the insurance can be a red flag to the underlying lender, which could trigger that the infamous new on sale clause too. That's true. But people change insurances all the time. It's not like the lender's not used to insurances being changed. It's like not that big of an issue, right? If you do it properly. So you just need to make sure that everybody that has their interests are named and placed properly on one insurance policy.
Yes.
Right? And as you mentioned, the primary insured, which for us, the majority of the time is our trust, right? And then as additional insureds, we have the beneficiaries of the trust. We have the borrowers on the Sub2 note, and that Sub2 lender is the loss payee.
Yes.
That's all they care about. They just want to be in a catastrophe. The house burns down. The insurance, they just want to be, the lender just wants to be paid off. Yeah. So as long as they see that, you should be good to go. But good God, don't do two insurance policies on the property thinking that that's going to solve all your problem. And you worry about your insurance, and the seller keeps their insurance in place with the escrow, right? So you don't have to that's a recipe for some bad skivvy there. You're one lightning strike away. You're one loose bulb on a Christmas tree away from being belly up on that deal. So
yeah. Now I will tell you, early on, I when I started in real estate investing, I started with Sub2. I didn't have any other way. I've told that story many times, but I didn't have any other way to pay for these properties that I was buying. So I bought them Sub2, and admittedly, I set up some insurance policies that were. At least I had the sense to go out and get new insurance policies. I didn't try to leave the old ones in place. But I did some of those that were set up were incorrect, and you know that could, I mean, that could definitely be a red flag for sure. Um, However, most of the time, what I experienced, I think it happened to me happened to me twice. I know, maybe even a third time, where I just didn't have I didn't have the policy wasn't structured correctly. I didn't have the correct named in, or not named insured. I didn't have the seller's name on there.
Mm.
Um, as additionally insured, I had it in some other. I think it might have been a TEMA on that one. I can't remember, but all they did was they sent it. The lender sent it back, and they said, "Nope, hey, this is wrong. We need to update this policy." And there was no, there was no red flags. There was no, they didn't trigger any kind of due on sale clause or anything like that. So I do want to. I only state that because I do want to say that even if it is set up incorrectly, it's not the end of the world. Most of
Yep.
the time, they're just going to send it back and tell you to fix it.
Yep.
Um, but 100%, it would be better if you just set it up correctly the first time.
Yeah. Right.
Like,
Exactly.
like leave no doubt, that that you're not going to be putting any kind of planting any kind of seed, I guess, in the lender's mind.
Yep.
So,
And it's really simple. Like you mentioned, the lender just wants to see a couple of things. They want to see their name as loss payee, first position loss payee, and they also want to see their borrower on the loan, whoever the borrower on the loan is, which is your seller. They want to see them as insured on the policy.
yeah,
So if you do it in a trust, then they're additional insureds, just like the beneficiaries of the trust are, and all this stuff. No big deal. As long as they see that, they're good.
that's right. So, recap number one, plain and simple, you must get a new insurance policy every single time you buy a property subject to. Do not leave the seller's insurance policy in place. Have the seller call and cancel that policy. Get a new policy. Period. It's simple. There's nothing wrong. I mean, like you stated, it's done every single day. Insurance changes are made uh, daily. I mean,
Yeah, all the time.
lenders
No
are
big
so
deal.
used to it, so no big deal at all. Just get a new policy. Number two, this is a good one,
Yeah.
and I think this is one of the. This is what I was in the opening when we opened this podcast. This is kind of what I was referring to. Lie number two is that you never need, um, or that you don't need any money to get into subject to or to do a subject to deal. Um, it is true, and I am a living testament to this, that
Yeah.
you can get into subject to deals for relatively little out of pocket. You
Yeah.
can. Not saying
Maybe
that,
just closing costs.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you can do it, but to never need any money to get into all of these deals with no money out of your pocket is a massive lie.
Yeah.
You've
Yeah.
got to have some capital. You got to have some capital available to you. So,
Yeah.
obviously, the great. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Or you need to be able to partner or know people that can bridge that gap. We call that gap funding, right? The Sub2 acquisition funding piece. What it's arrears, it's 10,000 in rehab updates to get it ready, whatever it is, right? We just call that gap funding. Know somebody, like a couple of crazy guys doing deals here in St. Louis, Missouri, or whatever. But yeah, you can't do real estate zero out of pocket. Like that is definitely a myth. There's no such thing as zero out of pocket. Could a singular deal be zero out of pocket for you? Maybe. But if you're looking to invest in many deals, then not every deal is going to be zero out of pocket. That's a myth. Yes.
Yeah, you can net zero out of pocket.
Yeah.
Easily. I mean, we do that all the time, and especially especially if we're selling a property that we bought subject to on seller financing. We will have to put up, 10, $15,000 or whatever it is to pay for those arrears or pay for any kind of small fix ups that we have to do. But we're always going to get that money back through seller financing. We're going to get that back through the down payment, so we can net zero pretty easily on a lot of deals, and we have to say we do that 90% of the time,
Yeah,
maybe.
the majority of the time, it just depends on the deals. We're kind of lucky. We're in a position now where we can fund our own deals if we want. We fund other people's deals, so they have zero out of pocket, right? That's we teach the students our students that with the partner.
Yeah,
Shameless plug too for the day. Yes. So
yeah.
yeah,
Um, so it can be done. It's just to say that you don't need any money to do this is nuts. It's just nuts. It's like any other investment. You put the money up, and the risk is that you will either lose that money, or you will be made whole, or and then eventually start cash flowing, or creating earnings on the money that you put out there.
yeah,
So you need money to do this business. Another
yeah,
thing that we should probably cover is reserves. The
yeah,
idea that you're just going to go out and buy this property subject to, even reserves are so important. I mean, certainly on rentals, if you're going to buy a property subject to and turn around and rent it, you had better have a reserve fund. But we like to even hold back reserves for the seller finance deals,
yep,
for because we have the same problem. We have turnover, or we have the potential for turnover. Although I will say, in the seller finance model, there's far less turnover than
yeah,
there is with rentals.
yeah. But you still have to plan for it, right?
Absolutely.
That's another myth. You have to plan for the worst, right? Even though it's likely not to happen, especially in the seller financing model, but you still have to be prepared if everything goes wrong, because there will be those deals
Yeah.
where every friggin' thing goes wrong.
Yeah.
Just the way life is. Yep.
Yeah. And as you know, we've talked about this before on other podcasts, where if you're turning these into rental properties, this is just one of the many reasons I don't like rentals anymore. Um, but turnover is the most expensive aspect of owning rental properties. It's not your mortgage payment, it's not insurance, it's none of that. It is turnover. And when I got into this business, I had rentals when I first got into the business, and a turnover would cost $3,000, $3,500,
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. Nominal. Nominal.
Still a good chunk of money for the kind of cash flow that you're getting out of rentals. Generally speaking, it's still a good chunk of money. It could take up, that one turnover could take up
A year of
6
profit.
months of your
Yep.
of
For
your
sure.
cash flow.
Yep. Yep.
But but yeah, it's just one more reason why I think rentals just don't fit my lifestyle anymore. I can't get into that. But having those reserves for your seller finance stuff too. You get in there and you say you have somebody that defaults on a loan. Um, well, now you've got a property you got to deal with. So what are you going to do? Now you can go. Kind of the good thing about this is if we're the bank, we get to resell that property, and so that seller is going to end up. I'm sorry, that buyer, your first buyer, is going to end up. They're going to lose that down payment. They're going to lose all the principal and interest that they've got into that deal, and of course that leaves you with a little bit of a task, because you're going to have to probably clean and freshen up that property a little bit.
Yep. Yep.
But now you get to turn around and do it all over again, collect another down payment, if and it can turn out really bad. Which, by the way, you're going to need reserves for.
Right.
So that's the whole point. I guess that's what I was trying to get to, and but how I can get long winded.
Because you still have an obligation to pay the subject to loan.
That's right.
Or the seller finance loan, whatever it is, you still have an obligation to pay that. So in a worst case scenario, you need to make sure those payments continue. So that's part of our reserve fund too, which I showed that seller, and they're like, well, we just keep this cash sitting here just in case.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll use it if we need to use it, but I mean, generally speaking, we have it sitting there for the rainy
Right.
day fund. So
Yeah. So for those of you who are, just exploring getting into this, or maybe just starting to get into doing some of these deals, and this is regardless of whether you're doing subject to deals or any kind of creative finance or anything like that, it would be it would be wise, let's put it that way, for you to immediately just, it should be on your radar at all times. Part of your job as a real estate investor is to look for deals, is to look for money. That's it. That's your, everything else can kind of work itself out. If you can find the deals, if you can find the capital that you need for those deals, you can always hire the rest of that the rest of the management side out. But so what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that always be on the lookout for, say, private capital, or any kind of funding you might need that could cover any of those upfront costs. Um, and it kind of takes a little bit of the risk off of you personally, so because you're not putting your own cash out there. But if you're getting started, you're probably going to have to use your own cash. But what I'm saying is, it's very important to start looking at private funding, private lenders, um, as soon as you get in. I mean, we're not going to go down that road. That could be another podcast, I think. Private lending, and maybe we can talk about how about some of the strategies we use to fight private
yeah,
lending.
yeah, maybe we'll do some actual deals and just say, okay, so yeah, we funded this from a private lender, or we funded this for our student here. We get
Yeah,
funded this, and then yeah.
yeah. But
So
until that time, you're gonna be using your own cash. That's all there is to it. You need money to do these to do real estate. Period. All right.
all
We
right,
ready to move on, or you got anything else
yes,
you want to add to this?
lie number three, or partial truth, partial truth number three.
Partial truth. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't need loan servicing. So we've talked about this a lot. And there are a variety of ways that you can accomplish this, but we highly recommend, especially if you're taking a sub-2 loan and you get a new end buyer in there. So now you've got two levels of stuff coming in. You got to make sure that the sub-2 mortgage loan is paid every month, and then you got to collect this money over here. And whenever you do that on an agreement for deed, or whether it's a wrap, whether you wrap the note, whatever that looks like, right? You need to make sure that we have compliance as well. Right? In other words, people need to, they're paying loan interest, they're doing all that. So you need to make sure that's doing that. So a good loan servicing company does all of that for you, so you don't have to. And we say, well, save the $30 or $40 a month. No, don't save the $30 or $40 a month. Spend the $30 or $40 a month. Have your end buyer pay for it as part of the document package that you're doing in there, right? It's just all rolled in. No big deal. They expect it. It's there in black and white. Here's what that's going to be. They then can send the money to XYZ financial services or whoever that loan servicing provider is, right? And they take care of all the rest for you. Okay. Very small monthly fee, 30 or $40 is really a small monthly fee to handle a wrap situation like that. It's a good deal, and it all you just do is look every month and make sure that your profit is being deposited into your bank account. So
Yeah. I mean, it's a very small price to pay for peace of mind. Not only that, the services that loan servicing companies provide, um, is they do all of the accounting.
yep,
I mean, like for someone like this, for someone like me, that's like that alone is worth
that's worth it. That's priceless. That's
a
right.
1,000%. Yeah, I don't want to be responsible for sending out those the 1098s and all that stuff. I don't. Um, it's not fun to me. It's just one more thing that I have to put on my calendar and figure out how I'm going to postpone it later on down the road.
That's
So
correct.
yeah, very uh, well worth the service. They're going to
Yep.
send statements every month to the borrower, to your borrower. It's just a really great service. Do you need it? Nope, you don't. You
So
don't have
you
to
can
start.
do it without. That's true. It is true you can do it without it, but we
Yep,
highly recommend you do it
yep,
because remember, in a previous podcast episodes, we've talked about using a loan servicing company can overcome an objection from the seller to do a sub-2 deal.
yeah,
So don't sit there and tell the seller don't overcome that objection by saying we're going to do a loan servicing company and then not do it, right? So
yeah,
do what you say you're going to do. That's
yeah.
what we call, wait for it, integrity.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's just um, it provides a level of transparency to your seller. It provides a level of transparency to your buyer, and it makes your life easier. I can't think of a better $30 spend. So uh, well worth it. And if you're doing escrow, it'll handle escrow accounts as well. I mean, it's
Yep.
just dynamite. It's awesome, awesome service. Not only that, but if you have a if for example, well, you know what, I'm gonna get down a rabbit hole a little bit, and it's regarding notes. It's regarding the notes that you might have. It can make for more marketable notes later down the road if you
Yep.
decide to sell a note. So
Yep.
I'll just leave
Yep.
it at that. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna deep dive into that, but definitely a plus on that as
Yes.
well.
The more you have set in place that's automated and we'll just say compliant, like a loan servicing company is by definition has to be legally compliant with the accounting and all that stuff too.
Yep.
Makes it much more marketable. Yeah. So instead of getting 60 cents on the dollar for your note, you'll get 80 cents on the dollar for your note. So yeah,
Right. Right.
if you want something. So
Yep. All right. Let's move on. This one is a I believe that this one is the biggest lie.
yes, 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 yes.
Um, well, I don't know if the biggest lie is the correct terminology, but it's definitely one that is misunderstood. That a lot of people
Yes,
tell you,
biggest misunderstood. That's probably a better way to say that. We don't understand what this really means.
yeah.
Correct.
And this one is that due on sale never happens.
No, no, not to do on sale. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Due on sale. Now, I will say it's rare. I've never had a subject to deal called. I've never had due on sale invoked on any of my subject to deals, and uh, I do credit really good paperwork, a thorough understanding of subject to and how this all works and everything like that. But um, I'm, despite knowing all this information and doing all this right, I am still subject to the same due on sale clause that everyone else is. It doesn't mean that I'm special. It just means that I've set things up correctly, and it's a lot less likely that it's going to happen to me. But it doesn't eliminate the possibility that it can happen.
Is
Nothing does.
right. It is true. This is a true statement, and we even say this. I say it a lot too. Just keep making the payments, stupid. Right? Like don't rock the boat. Just the bank, the lender wants to continue getting paid. 100% true.
Yeah,
But that does not eliminate the possibility they could accelerate and call the loan due. That possibility still exists. Yes, it's true that you want to keep making payments. They're in the business of making money. 100% true.
yeah,
But you need to have a back. This goes to making sure you have reserves or you know what you do in a worst case scenario. This is the same thing. So if this was the one deal that I mentioned where every friggin' thing goes wrong, right? Might as well have the due on sale, right? It's all going in. Might as well just toss that in here too. Have a damn backup plan, right? Have the ability, the knowledge, the connections, the reserves, even whatever it is, to just pay the loan off.
yeah,
What does that mean? Well, maybe you get a new note, right? You refinance it, right? Or you get a new note and you pay off the old note. Like what that means? Or maybe you just talk to the lender and say, "Hey, here's what's happening," right? Like just be honest with the conversation because once the due on sales, and like just be honest, just figure out what the issue is and solve it with the bank. Maybe they're willing to work with you, maybe they're not. I don't know. Typically, they are. Again, they're in the business of collecting monthly payments, not having vacant property sitting there on their non-performing asset list.
That's true. These lenders know. These lenders are not stupid. There's all kinds of like um, automated, you would call it Skynet, I guess.
Yes.
This monitoring software that it doesn't even. It used to be that they would have these. They would have to be tipped off. There would have to be some sort of uh, error in the paperwork that or the correspondence that you had with the lender. Or we've even seen it where lenders on for the subject to lenders, they've been sent the actual like operating agreements of these LLCs that these properties are transferred into, and trust agreements and all this stuff. I don't know if you remember this, but we had a student where the title company, I think it was the title company, actually sent their trust agreement to the lender. It was unbelievable. I'd never seen anything like it before, but that actually happened. But these lenders are aware. They know. They see these patterns enough times. They know what's going on. But the fact of the matter is, though, to your point, they don't want to own these houses.
Right.
And if the note is performing, they would want that. They can eventually. Notes have value. They have intrinsic value. They have a monetary value, and so if they want to sell that note generally, and they want to get top dollar for that note needs to be performing. And so it's not likely, and I think just for that one reason, that they like the performing notes. They like that being in the black in the performing column versus the non-performing column, because the marketability of that note increases, that they can sell off. And they don't want these houses. That's not to say, though, that, and this is particularly true, a lot of these smaller portfolio lenders and a lot of smaller local banks, um, you will see due on sale. You will see due on sale called much more in those situations than you will like a lot of these big banks. The smaller banks, I've seen it a couple times. Not personally, that hasn't happened to me, but I've seen it a couple times, even locally here where we're at, where someone was attempting to take over a property, not take over, that's bad language, purchase a property subject to, and the lender on that property of the loan that they were going to be paying on, the lender got wind of it, and turns out the lender is a local, like small credit union, or a small bank and trust or something like that locally. And certainly portfolio lenders, because most portfolio lenders, they hold their own notes. They don't sell their notes off to a secondary market. And so I guess that's just one little tip. Before you decide to take something subject to, take a look at who the lender is.
Yeah. Know who the lender is, right?
Yeah. And just, you might have a little bit of a network around you, and do some checking. And, even those are very rare, but your chances of having a due on sale called are a little bit greater with the local guys. So,
but they're also, that said, the silver lining in that is that you can just walk in and talk to them.
Yeah.
Right. They'll be much more willing to work with you. They have an understanding of what you're doing. Now, it may be against their policies or procedures or whatever in there too, but at least you can go in and have a conversation about it. Like, it's not.
Yeah. And, they could just let you to continue to keep making the payments and be totally fine with it. They may actually want you to qualify. I don't know.
Right. This thing saying, okay, well, how about you just give me a new loan then, and you pay yourself off?
Yeah. If you can get that loan.
Yeah, it's like, so yeah, it's crazy, which is why this goes back to circling back around. this is why we like to use the land trust structure,
Yeah, absolutely.
right? Or we'll just call it the trust structure, right? A lot of lenders don't know the difference between a revocable living trust and a land trust whenever they just see a name come across, like the name of the trust or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, unless it specifies things in the name of the trust, which I would highly recommend you don't do. But um, either way, that's why we do it in there, because you have a legal right in all 50 states to put your property in a trust for estate planning purposes or whatever. Now, it is true, like we've discussed many times, it is true different states recognize specifically the land trust differently or not at all, depending on your state, right? Like our state doesn't recognize a land trust at all, but it does recognize revocable trusts. Every state has laws about revocable trusts,
Yeah.
right? And so that's what a land trust is by definition. It's a revocable type trust where its asset happens to be real estate. So anyway, that's why we like the land trust structure. Does that eliminate the possibility of the due on sale clause? No, it
Nope.
does not eliminate it. That's why you still have to plan. But in a worst case scenario, what's your plan? The due on sale is triggered by the lender. Like, what is your plan? Obviously, step one would also be just talk to the lender. Like, the due on sale has already been triggered. What's the worst that happens now? Just come clean and say, okay, well, here's what's happening with this property. Like, what can we do to fix it?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. All good. All good. All good advice. I mean, um, highly unlikely that it's going to happen.
yeah,
If you're if you're making those payments on time, if you have everything set up correctly so that everyone is protected,
yes,
it's
no,
highly unlikely it's going to
yeah.
happen, but it still can happen, no
Still
matter
can
what.
happen.
So
100%. There's
have a plan.
nothing foolproof.
Yep.
Even our Sub2 documents package, which has all this too, that doesn't mean something still can't go wrong,
Right.
right? I mean, even though you could still fill out everything correctly, and there's still a chance something could go haywire. Somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that you didn't know that's running their damn mouth for some stupid reason about some bullshit, and the local lender gets wind of that and gives you a call, right? Who knows the crazy stuff that can happen, right? With the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, like whatever. Who knows what happens? All you can do is prepare yourself the best you can, and then be ready for the worst case scenario, right? I mean, that's really the motto.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a funny story about a due on sale scare that I had, and I've talked about this particular individual before, and it was just this was a deal that I don't want to get too far into it, but she did love this was a loan with Penny Mac, right, that I took subject to, and it was one of these things where the seller was not. It was very early in my career, and the seller was not completely on board because I had failed to really thoroughly explain how this was going to work, and to be honest, I didn't entirely know at that point. It was very early on in my career, and she ended up calling Penny Mac up and explaining to them the best she could because she didn't completely understand it, and so I'm shaking in my boots. I mean,
Mm,
I'm like, oh my gosh, this is.
you're just waiting. That's right.
I'm just waiting for a piece of mail to show up, or to be served at my front door or something like that. And I just kept making the payments. It did, I was just like, I'm going to keep making the payments. I don't want to give them any reason, you know. I just want to cover my bases to make sure that number one, the seller was protected. But I was just scared. I was just genuinely scared about this whole situation. So I just kept making the payments regardless, and never heard a thing. Never heard a thing. She plainly told them what was going on, and although I won't tell you the language that she used was funny. She said he stole my house.
Oh yes, 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 yes. See,
Yeah.
now you were doing some bad skivvy back then, giving everybody a bad name, huh?
Well, the way that that came up was because how I used to transfer them all into LLCs, and when I did that, I would use the seller's name as the LLC name. So, John Smith LLC. Um, I just didn't know any better. Um, and so when I named that LLC, I named it her name LLC. So she thought she was an owner in that LLC. I mean, it was
Right.
just really, really convoluted, and it really forced me into learning um, more and more and more. Like, it's just that common theme where you learn from your mistakes, and I certainly learned from that one. In fact, I learned from that one. This is the same one. If you've listened to our podcast for any length of time, this is the same one that followed me for years and years and years. This woman was just out of her mind with.
Raving fan. No, no, no. Raving fan.
Oh,
Raving fan.
yeah. A good way to put it. I love it.
Yes.
She was a raving Jeff Kaufman fan. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But anyway, I guess the point is that even though it wasn't triggered, I'm sure it was triggered in that situation, but the note was never called, and that was because I kept making payments. So could it have been 1,000%? Absolutely, probably should have been, to be honest with you. But no, it wasn't called, and we made it through it.
So, to summarize all the things, so we had the four, I guess, misunderstood half truths that you hear a lot in the guru. So, I guess the grand theme for today is be careful who you listen to, especially with sub two and creative deals, because you do need to do it properly, right?
It's true.
You do need to do it properly. Um, and if you don't know what you're doing and you're trying to wing it, then then for sure shit can go sideways, right? So that's what we're suggesting. Don't listen to somebody that made a comment in some Facebook group, and the Sub2 buyers Facebook group you joined, which has 100,000 people in it across the country, and not one of them's actually done a Sub2 deal. So just understand who your audience is and who's giving the advice, and maybe actually pay for the advice from people that are actually doing the deals, right? Just that as a thought, right? As a pro tip.
Yeah, I've had to stop. I've had to stop reading those comments
Yeah,
because I get
yeah. I,
so
I had to take, I had to put myself out of some of the groups. Yeah, I just couldn't take
just
it.
not because I would literally spend. It would be a full time job for me to respond to
Yeah,
some of those comments, and I just had to stop. I had to just
I,
pull away from it because it just like, it scares me to death to think that after reading some of these comments that people are going to go out and try and execute on some of this stuff,
yeah.
and it's just, dude, come on. So it's unnerving because I think it's gonna hurt our industry. It's gonna hurt our business.
Yes, for sure. It's what led to the new wholesaling law here in Missouri that
Yeah,
went into effect, right? Or
yeah,
is
I think
wait,
so.
next week goes into effect next week. So yeah, I mean, yeah, shit can go sideways, but if you treat this as an actual business, right, and you treat the people with respect and integrity, do what you say you're going to do, you'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Anything else? Anything you want to?
That's it. Last shameless plug. Partner with us. I've been putting them up throughout the thing with our documents package and all that too. If nothing else, even if you don't want to partner with us, but good God, spend a couple $100 and go get the Sub2 documents package. Sweet Jesus, be the best $200 you've ever spent.
Yeah, agreed. You said it all, man.
So with all that, have have a great week. No podcast next week, but we will see you the week after that.
All right. See you guys. Take care.